can't wait to hear from him. Let's give it up for our guy, Mr. Shaggyshane. Oh, yeah!
What is going on, fellas? It feels so good to be alive on a Saturday. September 9th, the 2023 season has just begun, and I'm taking this football. I'm going to throw it to Kadarius and see if he catches it. Here we go. He dropped it again. Man, it was perfect. I've hit him right in the back. All right. We're here. We're live, and we're feeling good. You guys are in an instant freaking killer debate. And if I could just jump right into this debate that you guys were going on about, I'm going to do it right now. And that is my take on this whole Kadarius Toney situation is he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for that game. He didn't have training camp. He didn't have preseason, which I know you hate, Lance, and this year I didn't like it either. But he did not have the reps to go into week one as your starter. Kadarius Toney was limited all week in practice. Until the very last practice, he had a full participant. And even the media, they were kind of skeptical. They were kind of like, they would go to Andy Reid, they would go to Matt Nagy during the press conferences throughout last week and say, are you sure Kadarius Toney is ready for this game? And they'd be like, oh, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, he's done everything that we needed him to do. And the media and everybody on Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, or wherever they get their Chiefs information were like, I don't know, man. I don't know if Kadarius Toney is ready for this, man. He just had knee surgery, August 3rd, August 4th, and now September 7th. He's the go-to guy that's out on the field dropping all these passes. And Sky Morris just jumped in and said, hey, Kadarius, hold my beer. I'm going to drop a couple of key important ones myself. So Kadarius definitely hurt his situation. Sky Moore needed to step up, but specifically to Kadarius, I was like – Lance, you and I and Clay were talking in Chiefs Migos. I kept saying all week, I think it's a smokescreen. I don't think Kadarius Toney's going to be ready to play. He's had no reps. He had no business being out on the field, and it showed. And now specifically to Kadarius Toney being the number one wide receiver for the Chiefs, I don't think he has the mental makeup to be a number one wide receiver. He's too much of a hothead. You can't go off on Twitter and send people private messages calling them F-bombs and mother effers and all this. If you're a true number one wide receiver of a National Football League team, of a championship team, you cannot reply to individuals on Twitter privately with hate.
Expletives.
Even though, yes, thank you. I need that. I need expletives. I need expletives from Trevor. Thank you. But you cannot be that. That doesn't show mental makeup. Mental makeup of a number one wide receiver of an NFL team is going to behave in that manner. It just doesn't show it. Do I like Kadarius? Yes, I love Kadarius. I love Kadarius Toney for everything he has delivered for this team in the Super Bowl. He has potential, but he is not the number one NFL wide receiver, and I don't think he should have been active last week.
Well, and Shane, I'm glad you brought this up because I'm not going to rehash what I was just saying with Trev about the reason why I think the biggest reason why he failed in this game was because of the mental side of things. This is actually something I was saying back when we heard the news that Kadarius Toney was trading barbs with Giants fans and his DMs on Twitter. I said these exact words. I said, this makes me worried now because I was already worried about his physical ability to stay on the field because he's missed 15 games in just 2 seasons in 1 game now. But it's also now the fact, like you said, he's giving in to these people that are just a bunch of nobodies. You should be able to ignore these folks, man. They should be nobodies to you. You should not have to worry about that and just go out there and play your game, just win in silence, succeed in silence, as a lot of people say. And he didn't do that. It got so bad, he had to delete his Instagram. He had to delete his Twitter. He had to delete all social medias to avoid all of that. And that's a good thing he did that. It shows maturity. But that was a concern of mine. I got destroyed for that from a lot of my peers and colleagues in the Chiefs community saying that should have no barring, it should have no relevance into what he is as a wide receiver one. I think it has everything to do with it because, again, even if it was a leg injury that was causing him ultimate strife in this game, it showed me that his mind was on other things other than honing in and catching that football, because when a football player is focused, more times than not, they're going to succeed and do the right thing and get the job done. And to me, Kadarius Toney did not look focused. He did not look ready for the moment, and that's why I stood on that. But see, Shane, I want to talk about a couple of these other wide receivers before we move on to other aspects of this game. I was telling Trevor that the wide receiver room is what lost this game for the Chiefs, in particular Kadarius Toney, not to pile on, but that just is the truth. What I also didn't like was the game plan. Now, obviously, we talk about the cute plays that Andy just refuses to move off of with the Blake Bell sneak, the reversals to Rashee Rice and to Kadarius Toney that everyone saw coming from a mile away that he's been using for damn near 5 years now. But it's also the fact that he did not get his young receivers in rhythm. I don't like the fact that he waited to the fourth quarter to get Justin Ross a single look in the offense when everybody's been hyping Justin Ross up. I mean, you are the OG godfather of the Justin Ross fan club. He got one pass, but ironically, the pass he got was the pass I wanted everybody to be getting all night, which these quick two-step drops, get the ball out, let Patrick Mahomes get these guys in rhythm, because the biggest thing when it comes to young players, in particular skill position players, is getting them their confidence. And that is not something I felt Andy Reid and Matt Nagy did. I understand the game plan goes out the window without Travis Kelce on the field, but if you're relying on young assets to run your offense through, and you're not running the ball clearly because Patrick Mahomes led the team in rushing again, then you're going to have to get these young dudes in rhythm, and they did not do that. It just felt like they had Patrick just going out there, hey, be great, chuck the ball around so you can catch a pass. And that's a problem to me when you don't have Travis Kelce on the field, man.
There was definitely you could see that there was influx, which was odd because they were able to look good last year without Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce getting hurt so late in the practice definitely threw everything off. But what I was uncomfortable with, and you brought that up, Lance, thank you, is that Justin Ross was only in 5-6 snaps, if that, and 3 were runs. Another one was a dump off to Pacheco, and he caught the only target. I don't know if Matt Nagy, I mean, this is as long as the Chiefs struggle, regardless if it's 5 drops, 3 by Kadarius and 2 by Sky Moore, it's going to fall at the feet of Matt Nagy for keeping Kadarius Toney out there. Kadarius Toney dropped those balls, in my opinion, because he kept being put in position to go catch it. And I kept thinking after the second drop, well, he's not going to see the field again. Well, he was out there and he dropped a big down. So that lies at the feet of Matt Nagy. I hope Matt Nagy gets trust and Andy Reid gets trust in Justin Ross and lets him play more than 5 or 6 snaps tops. But it's definitely a concern. You got 7 wide receivers, and the number from I haven't even watched the replay, man. I usually get them from the games and I watch the replay of what I missed. I just haven't yet. But from what I remember from sitting in the seats, I think Justin Watson was the number 1 wide receiver because he was on the field more than anybody. Justin Watson, I was watching Justin Ross because I was on the sidelines watching him, since I created the fan page for him. I want to see where he is. And Justin Ross was on the sideline standing next to Matt Nagy all game. But Justin Watson seemed to be the guy, the number 1 wide receiver, just from a fan's point of view. Keep in mind, I'm 3 rows in the upper deck looking down at the Chiefs sidelines. And do you have the snap count of what the wide receivers had, Trevor?
Well, I know Scott Moore led in as far as snaps. He was out there for like 89, almost 90% of the snaps.
Okay.
So Sky Moore was the most played the most snaps, but Justin Watson was definitely up there. And MVS, I think, was second.
If I'm not mistaken, Sky Moore, I think, had 31 snaps.
He was out
3
there.
Targets.
Yeah.
So definitely, and specifically to the play calling, when the Chiefs were up 17-14, or I think it was 17-14, late in the third quarter, when Patrick Mahomes ran it for 9 yards and it was 2nd and 1 at the 17, Clay turned to me. He said, this is going to be a sweep to Kadarius Toney. I guarantee it. And he's going to take it to the end zone, and he's going to get those people, the fans, up off his back because he had 2 drops. He's going to take this, and lo and behold, it was a sweep to Kadarius Toney, just like Clay called, but he lost 4 yards. So then you're thinking, wow, man, if Clay knew that was going to be the play call, that the Detroit Lions defense had the play call. And as for the Blake Bell call later on, it's ironic, and I touched about this on Arrowhead Allies a couple weeks ago, that the Chiefs, Andy Reid, for being the innovator he is, does not have a 3rd and 1 or 2nd and 1 play call. He just doesn't. I don't know if he just shouldn't think. I think he should think it's 2nd and 3rd and 1. He should think it's 2nd and 12, because there's just nothing. It doesn't matter. You can line up 3 tight ends and a tackle eligible, and he just doesn't have it, and that's a shock. Because Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey are the big guys. You got to be a man. You got to be able to freaking deliver. Hand off to whoever the up back is. If you got Pacheco as the fullback, since you don't have a fullback on your team, pull it over the middle. You don't need Blake Bell. When they see Blake Bell in motion, everybody around the world, not just the Detroit Lions, they know he's going to get this center and he's going to do something with it. They try to sweep to Rashee Rice. the Lions freaking nailed it because it's so predictable. It's so predictable. Andy Reid has got to do better on those short freaking plays.
Well, and let me say this real quick, Shane, and I haven't even brought this up to Trevor or anybody else. It just kind of came to me right now. You know, something that we had heard all offseason and then we saw in franchise, we've seen in other videos is, you know, Patrick talking about, you remember the snow globe play, you know, some of these other things. These are all creations of Patrick Mahomes in the offense when they're practicing. They're kind of just tinkering things. And Travis Kelce talked about how, you know, we bring up a lot of plays to Andy, and he even has that, that whiteboard. He calls it the beautiful mind board, where he lets all coaches go up there and draw plays, and he takes a picture of it, and then he takes certain things from it. He's a very open-minded coach, and that's what I love about Andy is he's always willing to, you know, stay up to date. He's not like Bill Belichick where he just sticks his feet in the sand. I'm going to play like it's 1992. No, he is willing to move on with the times, and that's why Andy Reid is still so successful where Belichick's going the other way. But the thing that what confuses me is I have to think that Patrick Mahomes being the obsessive football player that he is, Travis Kelce being the guy that he is with the high octane the brain power that he is as well, the brain trust that they have running this offense, why don't they allow these guys to maybe draw up some of these plays to get a little more creative? Or, wild thought here, Shaggy, because you've watched football longer than I have, and you remember how it used to play 20, 30 years ago, why don't you just go with the classics and just have a guy run right up the damn gut and get 3 feet, get 6 feet? If you've invested this much in your offensive line, let these big boys play big boy football and get you 4 to 6 feet, man. I just don't understand why Andy decides to go with these cute, gimmicky plays when, one, they continuously don't work, and two, there are other options out there that have been working for 3-4 decades.
I agree 110%. I mean, I know they don't have a fullback, but they could line up Blake Bell as a fullback and just get that extra yard. And I think Patrick Mahomes, it was a fluke when he got hurt against Denver. If Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, and all these other quarterbacks can pick up a yard on a consistent basis, not just like, well, every once in a while Jalen Hurts can pick up that inch. No, they get it every freaking time. It just sucks that they don't run up the middle on 3rd and inches. It's almost embarrassing. If we weren't the world champions, dynasty in motion, it would be embarrassing how the Chiefs are on 3rd and 1, because we all say to each other, there's a nervousness at Arrowhead, like, oh my God, it's 3rd and 1. Oh man, all they need is a half a yard. Oh shoot. And it's not even about Patrick Mahomes being hurt. They're not afraid of Patrick Mahomes diving. I think Arrowhead would stand up in unison and give a standing ovation if Patrick Mahomes would take the snap and bull over Creed Humphrey's big ass and get the first down. It's that simple. We're playing football, man. Be tough. Be physical.
Yep.
Get that freaking yard. Man, come on, Andy Reid.
Well, and I don't like the idea of taking the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands to begin with. When we need to get a first down, you're going to give Blake Bell the ball and have him snap the ball. Just run a straight up play. I'd rather do a rollout play with Patrick Mahomes, just taking a snap, rolling out, finding somebody for a short yardage play, or even running for it. That's way more deadly to me than trying to get Blake Bell to cause some kind of confusion up front. The problem with that play too in this past game is we got the defensive line to jump. Blake Bell just didn't have the wherewithal to snap it at that moment, and he could have got a penalty. Would have had a first down either way. So we decided to snap the ball after the guy had jumped. We could have got a penalty on them, and we snapped the ball and then tried to give the ball to a rookie on a jet sweep. It's just talk about pressure. That's a lot of pressure for that rook to make that play on the short yardage. Which was maybe the most struggle area we have as far as offenses go. So either give Patrick the ball on those kind of plays, let him create something, or just run the damn ball up the gut or do a QB sneak. I just don't understand it. Keep it simple sometimes, man.
Definitely. You know, and I think that I hope that somehow maybe during training camp they did work on some short yardage situations. And last thing I want to say, the last thing I want to say about Kadarius Toney, he's great. He's a weapon that we all need, but he should have been man enough to go to the press, to the locker room, or wherever the media was, and said, this game's on me. And I've yet to see any film of him saying, you know, this game's on me. I cost this game. This is why we lost. Derek Thomas, after he had 7 sacks and the 8th sack got away, and Dave Craig threw a Hail Mary, Derek Thomas went up to the media and said, yeah, it was great to have 7 sacks, but I cost the game because I did not get the last one. This was Kadarius Toney's moment to be that number 1 wide receiver and say, this game's on me. Instead, we're all concerned about his mental makeup. Is he going to be okay? Because I turned to Clay after the game. I said, with Kadarius Toney's psyche, this when we were walking out of the stadium after the game, I was saying to Clay, I don't know if he's up to handle the hate he's going to get, because I don't trust that he's going to be able to handle it. He's going to need Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, Patrick Mahomes saying it's okay, forget about it, it's okay. Because now that he would put all the Giants fans on blast on Twitter over the summer, it looks like he's a loose cannon. So this is an important week for the National Football League career of Kadarius Toney, and that's what I'll leave it at that.
I agree, man. And, to kind of piggyback off what we said when it comes to the offensive line, I want to get your thoughts on the offensive line as a whole, because I'm very big on this offensive line. Trevor is as well. I know that I'm assuming that you do as well. I said that Donovan Smith, if he plays to the level that he played in the preseason, he could very much be an upgrade to Orlando Brown Jr., who I backed very much and believed that the Chiefs should have paid a lot of money to, and try to pay him a lot of money. But it looks like Donovan Smith had a little bit of a struggle in this game. He wasn't terrible by any means, but he gave up some pressures. Actually, according to one tweet that we had seen, I need to go and watch the film myself to verify this, but he gave up a 15% pressure rate, which is higher than any game Orlando Brown ever had in a Chiefs uniform. Whether that's completely accurate or not, because pressure rates are sometimes very subjective, it can be opinion-based. That can be up for debate. But overall, I thought the offensive line was incredible. Patrick Mahomes didn't get sacked once. I thought that Juwan Taylor going against a guy that is a budding superstar, and Aiden Hutchinson, a guy that's going to make $150 to $200 million in his next contract. I thought Juwan Taylor hung tough. I thought they gave Patrick Mahomes plenty of opportunity. I saw was halfway through, Trevor, the third quarter, Patrick Mahomes was averaging 3.9 seconds per snap in the pocket. Like, he had time, and you saw the ball was on the money. He was hitting guys in stride. He was making plays. They were just simply dropped. I don't want to talk about the drops again. I just want to talk about this offensive line. Are you as impressed as what I was? Because, replacing your two tackles for the second time in 4 years, both of your tackles for the second time in 4 years, that's never easy to replicate and overcome. But I thought these guys as a nucleus, as a core, did an incredible job in protecting Patrick Mahomes. What are your thoughts?
Oh, man, they did great. Patrick had all day to pass. But I also think that they should have if you're going to specifically pay the right tackle, left tackle money, then you should be able to run behind him a little more. Now, I know people might be saying, hold on, Shaggy. This is a pass-heavy offense. We're not going to run behind a right tackle that we paid left tackle money to, which would, I believe, would it definitely help out the short yardage situations, maybe run, but we already covered that. But specifically to the offensive line, hell yeah, I loved it. Patrick Mahomes on 3rd and 17 had that time, and he freaking slung that sucker 25 yards over the middle into a tight window of MVS. Man, that was sweet. That lit up Arrowhead, because at the time the offense was struggling, and that is what we needed. It was just like, hell yes. That was a Hall of Fame throw from Patrick Mahomes to MVS. And then on 4th and 25 with the game on the line, Patrick Mahomes has time. He even rolls to his left, throws clear across the field on 4th and 25, 28 yards, and Sky Moore has it in his hands, but he dropped it. But props to the offensive line for giving him that. I'm concerned about the Juwan Taylor thing, because I read on Twitter after the game that there was a lot of people saying that he was lined up off sides. He was lined up off the offensive line. What is your take on that specifically, and what do you think? Do you think refs are going to call that, or is that something that Juwan Taylor got away with? What do you think moving forward about Juwan?
I think it was overized or over covered because of the fact that, one, it was on national television and it was the Chiefs. We see Lane Johnson, we see several other top tier right tackles in this league in particular do those early. It looks like an early jump, but really what it is, they time those jumps perfectly. And when it comes to where they line up, you go watch. I can send you the video. I'll give credit to where credit's due. Sterling Holmes from 810 Sports Radio, on his Twitter handle, on his Twitter account, broke this down perfectly. He shows clips, he shows receipts of other top-tier right tackles lining up behind the butt of their center. Now, the rules say what they say, but it shows that these guys are all doing it. Yes, it looked like Juwan Taylor was way in the backfield. Sometimes it looked like he was lined up at running back. But I'm telling you right now, this is a thing that they do in the league. They allow it. It's legal technically. They get away with stuff. I'm sure. And here's the thing. Shane, come on, man. We've been watching this game forever. We know that guys are always looking for that competitive advantage. And if it's within the gray areas of the rule book, we've seen Belichick test this many times. We've seen Mike Vrabel do it. We've seen guys test the rule book, bend the rules here and there. you're going to clearly do it. I mean, we saw the Chiefs. It isn't the same, but it isn't the same. In the Super Bowl against the Eagles, the Chiefs were wearing gloves that matched the color of or were dark gloves, so you can't see sometimes when they push and pull and things like that. It's a little harder to see. But the Eagles wore black gloves when the Chiefs were wearing white jerseys, and what do you know? Bradbury gets that pull on Juju, and it's more obvious because of the contrast in color, and they picked up on it. So there's things that teams are always doing, tinkering with stuff like that, and to me, this is just a non-starter. I don't think this is a conversation to be had, and I don't understand why it got so much attention outside of, once again, first game, nationally televised, it's the Chiefs, everything's going to be overly criticized. That's my take on it. I don't know how Trevor feels about it.
No, I mean, it's like you said, Lane Johnson, we've seen him do it numerous times. It's just, this was just an intention. This was the primetime game. Everyone was, in every little detail of the game was going to be, put on blast. So for me, I absolutely loved what I saw out of Juwan, man. I thought he looked great.
Yeah.
I thought he looked such a good athlete. He's so quick and strong. I loved the pass pro. We just got to figure out the running blocking scheme and figure out, get some running backs actually know how to hit the hole right, because there was just a lot of just running the wrong direction. And there was a couple freeze frames where Clyde had wide open gaps and he didn't hit them right. You know what I mean? So freeze frames can be, skewed the wrong way. It's easy to freeze a frame in a football game and not understand the split second change that happens in reality when you press play on that freeze frame. Overall, I loved the pass pro. I thought Juwan looked great, and the O-line overall gave Pat all the time to make the throws. It's just catching those throws is the important part.
Yeah, and Shane, I want to transition over to the defensive side because, going into this matchup, everyone talked about how the Lions. No Chris Jones. The Lions have a top 5 offense. They have a great OC in Ben Johnson, solid quarterback in Jared Goff, an awesome offensive line, a budding superstar in Amon-Ra St. Brown at wide receiver, good young running backs in the backfield with Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs. Yeah. They got a lot of talent, and everyone's like, oh, no Chris Jones. They're going to come. They're going to roll this defense. They're going to put up 30+. I never bought that. I had them scoring 24 in this game because, to the credit of Chris Jones's value, I felt that the Chiefs were going to give up, a few touchdowns and a field goal, but the Chiefs are going to win this game, and the defense is going to do enough to hold the Lions back, and that is exactly what happened. Even better so than what I predicted. And Trevor and I both agreed on this in our predictions that this was going to be a top 10 unit this year. That this Chiefs defense is as talented as Patrick Mahomes has ever had. That's without Chris Jones. With Chris Jones, it's going to be a monster, and I can't wait for that.
And Amenahu back.
Yeah, we'll talk Chris Jones in a second, but we know how long Amenahu is going to be out. But this defense, to me, played an incredible game. Sure, there were times where the Lions got a couple chunk plays here and there, but when you're facing an awesome offense, that's going to happen. You can't expect this team to shut them down and hold them to 80 yards of total offense. That's just not a reality in the NFL, especially with the rules hinging upon the defensive players to give space to the offense to let them create. But I thought this defense, McDuffie was incredible, forcing the fumble and locking down receivers when he was on them. I thought L'Jarius Sneed overall had a good game, especially as rusty as he was, not playing a lot in training camp and preseason. But I thought the pass rushers is what I was looking for. I loved what I saw out of FAU. I loved what I saw out of George Karlaftis. Mike Dana got a sack. Derek Nottie was plugging in the lane in place of Chris Jones. I mean, I thought seeing FAU, a rookie player in his first game, getting double teamed by an elite offensive line tells me that this dude's got something in his repertoire, man. And I loved what I saw. And like I said, we'll talk about Chris Jones in a second, but the guys on the field is what I want to focus on in this particular portion of this conversation. What did you see being 100 feet from the field? What did you see from these young guys?
I saw some guys that wanted to play, and they came out and they played. I didn't even know who number 93 was. I'm looking down the field. Who's number 93? I said to Clay, and we're like, I don't know. You guys know who number 93 was next to Nottie? No, I mean, you could. I guess you could look it up and see, but it seemed like 91 and 93 were holding their own. What surprised me, and it wasn't a fault because I think the cornerbacks with Sneed, Josh Williams, and McDuffie held it down. Jalen Watson didn't see any secondary play. Did he get hurt early? Does anybody know?
I didn't see him go out. It didn't look like he was out.
Jalen Watson was fourth behind Joshua Williams on the, at least when it come to snaps, because he wasn't out there. I kept saying to Clay, I said, you know what's weird? Jalen Watson's not out there. But I thought Sneed, Williams, and McDuffie held it down. I loved Reed getting that sack on fourth down when the Lions were trying to run the clock. He not sacked, but he broke the pass up. And they put us in a position to be successful. At the end of the game, it sucked because you wanted them to hold them to a field goal, but they ran 3 times for 10 yards. Man, that was the play. I mean, if we could have held them to a field goal and kept our timeouts with 150 left, we would have been down 4, but it wasn't meant to be. But I think for the most part, those kids that went out there and played, I got to give it to Mike Dana. Mike Dana played well, and he's a situational player that seems to always get the big sacks. 8 of his 14 career sacks are against Justin Herbert? Yeah. So it's a weird stat, but it is. And, I like Mike Dana. I like FAU. Of course, man, he was getting a lot of pressure. Clay kept saying, look at Felix. He was freaking coming hard. That's what you want to see from these kids. The foundation of the defense is young, and I liked what I seen.
Yeah, I'm in 100% agreement with you, which is why, again, I was very confident this defense did more than enough. I mean, they gave up one legitimate scoring drive game. I know that the fake punt on the 16-yard line, absolutely ballsy by Dan Campbell, but it worked, and I can't blame the defense for that because they did their job. They pinned them back, and then they had to go right back on the field. They had one legitimate scoring drive. They did more than enough to help this team win. But let's talk about the elephant that continues to grow in this damn room, man. I know that it's not something we like talking about, but it has to be talked about because it is a prolonging problem. Chris Jones is not only sitting out, he's up in the damn sweet box with his 2 jackass agents doing whatever, they're pretending like they're on the phone every time they get on camera. This whole situation is just very... I've been on Chris Jones' corner the entire time. Trevor, you can ask Trevor. I've said, the Chiefs need to pay him. They better not lowball him. But ever since we've heard the figures come out where they're willing to pay him $27 million a year, $54.5 million over a 2-year extension, where it's $54 million in new money, would make him that's actually the most guaranteed money a defensive tackle would ever make over a 2-year span in NFL history. I mean, look, man, I know he wants to make 32 a year when it comes to the new money, 64 total. You're not getting that here, and you're not getting that anywhere else, especially if you sit out more games. You don't the things don't go the way we want them to this year, and then you're 30 years old trying to hit the open market. It's not a reality. No one's going to pay him that kind of money by the way things are going right now. So I think he needs to take the money. I think he needs to report as soon as possible, hopefully Monday. Get in the fold, help this defense help win games this year, because the next 9 games are not going to be easy for the Chiefs at all, and Chris Jones is a very important role. I get that the defense played very well, and I think they can continue to play well for a stretch without Chris Jones, but as I've told Trevor, and I have been saying on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere else, I do not believe the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl without Chris Jones. He needs to be on the fold. He needs to play because this guy is an ultimate difference maker. He's a one-of-one player in this league, still in the prime years of his career. I don't like the way he's handled things. This thing is weird as shit when it comes to him and the Katz brothers doing the things the way they're doing, where he's saying at the Ronald McDonald thing, which I thought was awesome. He made that commitment. He honored that commitment, but goes to the press. First of all, says, well, I don't want to talk about it. I can't get into it, and then gets into it and talks about it. Says that he doesn't want to be a distraction to the team, but then 24 hours later, 48 hours later, whatever it is, he's at the stadium knowing that NBC is going to pan to him every single time anything notable happens with the defense. And that's exactly what they did. And I feel that he was the opposite of what he wanted to be. I know his intentions are good. I know he wants to be a Chief. I know he loves being a Chief, and I do believe he wants to retire a Chief. He's handling this the worst way possible. Like I said, the money's there. They're trying to pay him. They're being fair. They make him the second highest player in the league at his position right now, which is what he requested. Damn it, take the damn money, man. That's my thoughts. Shane, where are you at, man?
My thoughts 2.5 weeks ago on Arrowhead Allies, I said they should pay him whatever he wants. Make him the highest. Let's do it. And it didn't happen, obviously. And I started to do more due diligence. I mean, I felt like I did enough because I'm a big Chris Jones fan. But I think everything that you just set and broke down, I caught wind of last week. And him showing up at Arrowhead with the Katz brothers, who have obviously led this on to a train wreck. It's a bad look. Regardless of specifics of financial situation, the Chiefs kingdom will remember this. They will remember this, and they will take it to heart the longer he misses, because they don't understand 27 million to 30 million to 70 million signing bonus, this, that, and there. They know that he's not there, and the millions and millions speak when people are barely able to scrape up enough money to go to the game and pay the park. They look at this as man, Chris Jones isn't doing good. And when people intelligent like you and Trevor and the guys at Arrowhead Allies know, and Clint, and not just you four, but just from the world who looks at the math and see how it adds up. And then when I read it and look at it, being a diehard Chris Jones fan, he's hurting himself. He's losing millions. And most important, he's going to lose if he holds us. If this gets ugly. I remember 25 years ago when Dan Williams, the defensive tackle, held out the entire year. He held out the entire year. He came back in 1999 and played, but nobody liked him. Yeah. Granted, Dan Williams and Chris Jones are obviously two different players playing in two different eras, but once you hold out and miss an entire season or 8 games, and if the Chiefs go 7-10 this year, just hypothetically, because Chris Jones held out the first 8 weeks, he's done, man. He is done in Kansas City. I've seen it. I've seen fans turn on players, and if this gets ugly and it causes the Chiefs to lose next week because the Jacksonville Jaguars ran it down their throat, it won't be in Chris Jones' favor. Nobody's going to be saying, hey, Brett Veach, do it now. Give him more. Give him what he wants. Nobody's going to do that because he stuck his feet in the ground and said, nope, this is where I'm going to stay, and it will hurt Chris Jones. Trust me, the Chiefs can go – this is hypothetical. The Chiefs can go 7-10 this year because they lost Chris Jones, but still turn it around and win a Super Bowl next year without him because they'll prepare for him and still be a dynasty. This is on Chris Jones and what he wants to do moving forward. And if he doesn't sign today, I mean, right now, like as I'm sitting here talking, then it's going to get bad. It's going to get bad for Chris Jones, and it's not a good light. The Katz brothers obviously botched this. They are amateur hour. Yes, they represent not a good friend, but a friend of mine in Byron Pringle. But still, Chris Jones is their big ticket, and they're botching this all up.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I want to say this, too. I think one of the main things that bugs me the most about this situation is, obviously, we all love Chris. And Chris has put forth this persona that he loves us as fans. He loves Chiefs Kingdom, which is why I feel the biggest issue is the lack of congruence in what he's portraying to be and the hypocrisy that he's portraying right now. He says he doesn't want to be a distraction, yet here he is at the Banner game sitting up there in the suite watching his friends and his coworkers lose when he could have been a massive contributor to changing that game or possibly changing the outcome of that game. Regardless if the defense played well or not, he could have made it even that much better on top of that. So the hypocrisy and the burning of bridges right now is my biggest issue, because he's been all about, we're building something here. They're going to make a movie about this. We're building a dynasty, blah, blah, blah. But here you are causing a massive issue and a rift within that process. You don't want to be a distraction. You don't want to do a hold-in because you think that's more distracting than you doing a hold-out and then showing up to games. You think that's less distracting? It's hypocritical to me for him to say he doesn't want to be a distraction and then doing what he's doing right now. And actively causing a rift in the dynastic run that you are glorifying and fantasizing about. It makes no sense to me. This is more than just football for me right now. This is a personality trait issue with Chris Jones, and I'm not going to come down on a man's IQ. I think he's very misguided right now by the people that are in his ears. And I think he's taking terrible advice right now, and this could cause the end of Chris Jones in Chiefs Kingdom. I agree with you, Shaggy. I think this could be an issue to where if he holds out for 3-4 more weeks, the Chiefs might not have no choice. I mean, if he shows up week 8, yeah, he's probably going to play, but I know trading him makes no real sense. But I mean, I know Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and their pressers, they've all come out and talked about how they support him in his decision. You got to feed your family, do it best, get the generational wealth. I don't believe everything that they say in those pressures. I think that this is absolutely bugging Patrick Mahomes. I think this is absolutely bugging Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is trying to go out there and play on one leg, putting in every effort to keep this run alive, this magical run alive, and then you got a guy out there sitting in the stands in straight clothes, 100% healthy.
Yeah, Lance did the math right there. You can become the second best player or paid player at your position right there. That math is all there for Chris Jones. It's cut and dry. So he's doing more harm for himself, because if Brett Veach really wanted to freaking stick it to him, and they could lay the franchise tag on him next year. He could hold out 8 games, and guess what?
This is getting cheaper.
Slam the franchise tag on him. And then by the time Chris Jones becomes a free agent, the year after that, then see how much you'll get. You'd be thinking, man, I should have took that deal 2 years ago in the summer of 2023. But I listened to these freaking two yahoos freaking try to blow smoke who have no skill set of freaking how to represent a freaking player of that elk. It's disappointing. The math's right there. Thank you, Lance.
Yeah, and I will say this, not to sound like Nicholas Sparks here from The Notebook, but it's kind of sad, honestly, because and obviously he could come back and things can be good when Chiefs win the Super Bowl again, and then we're sitting here, having another parade and everything's good, and then the Chiefs extend them, and all this could end up going very well. But just as Trevor alluded, what you've alluded to, what a lot of Chiefs fans have alluded to, I collect it all and I gather it all and I put it in a vacuum, and I'm just sad about it because I watched this NFL Network special just a couple nights ago, and I see the guy that's coordinating everybody that goes on the stage after the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, and they're trying to obviously get Patrick Mahomes up there, and Patrick gives a personal testimony about it. He goes, they were telling me to go up there, and they were probably going to get Travis Kelce to go up there with me because obviously the two notables. He goes, but they show the clip of Patrick going, no, get 95 up here too. Get Chris. He makes the guy go get Chris Jones, and Patrick says in the after video, he goes, well, to me, they want Kelce and they want me up there, but Chris Jones was just as much of a part of this as we were, and that got me kind of emotional because I'm sitting here, I'm like this guy is such an important piece to what the Chiefs are doing and still doing. It's not like a past thing where it's like, oh man, remember the good old days where Chris Jones was still good, and oh man, that sucks that he's like gone away, and he's still the best at what he does, and the Chiefs absolutely need him to win another Super Bowl, whether people want to admit that or not. He is a pivotal figure to the equation of what they're trying to do this season. That's why Travis Kelce has been so sad about it. That's why Patrick Mahomes has been so sad about it, because they miss their friend. They miss their brother. And they miss one of the key contributors to this team moving forward. And like Trevor said, he's getting horrific advice. I'm all for a man going and getting his money. I want Chris Jones to get as much money as he possibly can. But at some point, you have to admit that this is what your market is, my brother. Like Travis Kelce knew what his market was, and he accepted the money the Chiefs got him, and he got rewarded for that. And this man is out here becoming one of the greatest at what he does, if not the greatest at what he does. Chris Jones has that same opportunity. He averages the same amount of sacks per season as Warren Sapp, who's maybe outside of Aaron Donald the best at defensive tackle in the history of this game. And so it's frustrating for me. It's sad to me because it also felt like, the first time the Chiefs won the Super Bowl in 2020, we didn't get to celebrate because of COVID. And so you felt like we missed that as Chiefs fans. We didn't get to watch the banner. There was only 7,000 fans at the stadium that game. We were lucky to have that. But then this time around, it felt like the whole offseason, being able to celebrate as defending champs, we're sitting here talking about Chris Jones sitting out. We're talking about L'Jarius Sneed's injury. We're talking about Travis Kelce missing game one for the first time in his career. It just felt like we missed it again. It felt very bittersweet. I'm sure for you and Clay and all the fans at Arrowhead on Thursday, it was still great. It was still a myopic situation. It was still great, I'm sure. But at the same time, it felt like it could have been better. It didn't feel like we were all together. Did you get that sense, or am I just over here just being too sappy?
No, you're nailing that feeling about Chris Jones, but I had to fight back some tears just because watching the banner drop. I was a season ticket holder from 91 through 2011. I've been going to Chiefs games since 1977. I'm 53, and being there to watch it drop, I had to turn away from Clay a little bit because I was fighting back some tears for that moment as a Chiefs fan because it was the pinnacle. I didn't get to be there. We didn't get to be there in 2020 because of COVID. And that meant a great deal to me emotionally. As right before kickoff, I started thinking, man, I sure hope Chris Jones is here. Like I said, I haven't seen the game yet. I got it on DVR, but I haven't seen it yet. How many times did they show Chris Jones and the Katz brothers in the suite to get a guess?
I mean, Trev, correct me if I'm wrong. I saw at least 20 times. At least 20 times. They made it an emphasis.
And they're showing the agents on their phones left and right, as if they're making some kind of.
On air? Yeah, I'm busy. Yeah, what's going on?
It was strange, man.
It was pathetic.
It was strange.
Wow. Do you think the Katz brothers knew they were on TV?
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Because if you've ever been in those suites, you'll see they have TVs in the suites. Yeah.
And
so they see it.
And Chris's giant ass is sitting right in between them.
Yeah.
He's got one on each side. His little goons. It is a strange, very, honestly, very, very triggering as a Chiefs fan. It was very triggering seeing us out there struggle and trying to get, just missing that anchor on the defense and seeing him out there eating popcorn with his two goons. It's hard. It's hard to respect that, honestly.
a little bit of Chiefs Kingdom history. Albert Lewis sat in the booth with Carl Peterson in 1990 after he held out all training camp and preseason. And immediately after the game, Albert Lewis and Carl Peterson agreed on their contract situation. And it was awesome because we got our best cornerback back. And Albert Lewis also played on special teams. And Albert Lewis blocked a punt the next week, which was the second week of the season, and the third week, and the fourth week. He came back, he had something to play. He had blocked 3 punts in a row after holding out. I was hoping if Chris Jones was going to be in the suite, he was going to be in the suite with Brett Veach on Thursday night. But apparently he was sitting in his own suite with the Katz brothers on each side pretending to be on their cell phones, which continues the embarrassment of Chris Jones' contract entire situation.
Couple more things here, Shaggy, and we'll get you out of here because, man, this has been a fun conversation. We always love when we have you on, man, because you always bring it. We're 8 days away as we currently stand from the Chiefs to Jacksonville, a team that I'm very much big on. Trevor's very much big on. I don't know where you stand with the Jaguars, but I think this is a 12-win team this year. Very light schedule, especially when it comes to quarterback matchups. But I think that this is going to be a very tough matchup for the Jaguars because I don't know how good their defense is going to be overall. Trevor and I are going to talk about this at another time, but I think the Chiefs have a real opportunity here to bounce back, and I actually like the fact they're going on the road after a frustrating loss like that at home because I think the Chiefs, for whatever reason, in the Mahomes era, they just seem to click on the road. Patrick Mahomes loves playing. He admitted that to Nate in this last year when they were having their interview. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to go out there and do some great things, and hopefully these wide receivers will bounce back. And obviously, I'm expecting Travis Kelce to play in this game, and I think Travis is going to be Travis. I think he's going to look just great, just fine. The Chiefs are going to be back in rhythm offensively. But I want to get your take, your thoughts, your opinion, and if you're kind enough to give us a little bit of a prediction of what you're expecting from this Chiefs-Jaguars matchup coming up this next week.
Man, it's going to be tough. This is where your coaching comes in. This is where your coaching. When you lose a game that you felt like you should have won when you dropped the world championship banner, your coaches have to be able to mentally prepare these guys for the next. Granted, they got a 10-day break in between games, so that should help them coming to working on their mental makeup and preparation for the game. But I think it's going to be tougher than what they expect, especially if Chris Jones is still holding out. I think it's going to come down to the wire. The Chiefs are more battle-tested than Jacksonville, and I think there's probably going to be – I'm not reaching when I say this. There's probably going to be 15,000 Chiefs fans down there because Florida has a strong chapter for Chiefs fans attending. I don't know if Fidel Blocker and the Chiefs or Die Group are going to be there or not, but I know for the most part Florida has a strong fan base, and there's a strong fan base down in the southeastern region that loves the Chiefs. So I think that it's going to be a tough game. I hope we can win. I think we can right now. I'm going to say it's going to go into overtime, and whoever scores, I think the Chiefs can win in overtime, but I think it's going to be a freaking nail biter. I hope I'm wrong. I hope everybody's there. I hope Chris Jones is signed by the time we're done with this podcast, and everything's good to go and we're feeling good about ourselves. But I think it's going to be a tough game, and I think the Chiefs can win in overtime, 31-28.
I like that. Now, Shane, before we get you out of here, you and I did have a discussion on the phone yesterday, and you told me that you had an announcement to make, and you were kind enough to allow our platform to be where you actually made that announcement first and foremost. So, Shaggy, I'm going to give you the floor right now. You can take over, take as much time as you need. But this is an announcement you wanted to make.
Wait. Before the announcement, let's do our Justin Ross bet.
Okay.
Lance, let me tell the viewers. Me and Lance talked over like in June. I said, "Man, you're not talking about Justin Ross enough on the Spoken. Let's make a bet." And I said, let's bet our beards. I said, I'll shave my beard, and you'll shave your beard if Justin Ross makes the team. And Lance said, no, let's not bet that because you shave your beard 2 or 3 times a year. So Lance came up with a bet from what movie, Adam Sandler?
Happy Gilmore.
Okay, and what was the bet that you wanted to give me if Justin Ross made the team?
Well, I said that I was going to go on here on the show and actually give you the actual and tell it to you like you're Chubbs and I'm Happy Gilmore. So without further ado, I'm stupid, you're smart, I was wrong. You were right. I'm not attractive. You're very attractive looking. And Justin Ross looks like the boss.
I love you, Lance. I love you, Lance. Even though we disagree sometimes and we get mad at each other sometimes, you know I love you. And Trevor, I love you too, even though you don't reply to my Facebook messages.
I don't reply to anybody's, man.
I asked Trevor. I sent Trevor a heartfelt message on being a lead admin on Justin Ross fan page. It was a joke, but he didn't reply. But that's how he is. But you know I love you both, and I champion you both.
Of course.
All right. Specifically to Shaggyshane, the Shaggyshane Kansas City Chiefs show. You know, when I started doing that, it was me and Jason Jones started doing Chiefs Coalition on a fan page in 2008. Props to Jason Jones. You met him, Lance. We did video that we put on that message board. And after 2008, Jason moved to Arizona, and Nick Athen of Warpaint Illustrated asked me to take over for Ollie Starr, who went to 38 the spot. And for 4 seasons, I was on Warpaint Illustrated talking Chiefs. I had a chance to interview Dustin Colquitt and Kendall Gammon and basically build up my following, because I had that following on Facebook because of what I did with Jason Jones and because of what I did with Warpaint Illustrated. I started after Chiefs games for about 2 or 3 years. I would just post my feelings of it on Facebook. And my oldest daughter Tara said, "Why don't you just create a YouTube page, just so you can just do your YouTube?" I said, "I don't know, man." But then I thought, you know what, I might as well. It's cathartic. It makes me feel good emotionally after the game. So I created a YouTube page in 2014. I didn't start doing it consistently every single Chiefs game until 2016. And between 2016 and 2022, you know, seven seasons of just, you know, breaking down the Chiefs games. It's been fun. It's been awesome. I got to meet great friends. I got to make friends, and the Pat Mahomes Sr. and his late Mama Cindy, who's beautiful. Rest in peace. She's been super awesome. She started watching me as soon as Patrick Mahomes was drafted. They were looking online to see what Kansas City fans thought of their grandson being drafted. And she said, "Oh my gosh, look at this guy. He's so great. He loves Patrick Mahomes being drafted." And it expedited the friendship that I have with Pat Mahomes Sr., his beautiful sister Tanisha, as well as his Johnny Mahomes, Patrick's grandparents. We met him at the game, a home opener. You were with us, Lance. But anyway, I just got up to 4,000 followers and subscribers on my page, and it has been fun and it has been great. But I knew at the Super Bowl, when I was doing my Super Bowl live last February, if I'm ever going to end it, this is the time. This is the time to end it. I got 500 fans in here talking to me, asking questions, and I sat there knowing this is going to be my last post-game show. Now, I know people might be saying, "Hold on, Shaggy. I need to know what you're feeling after an emotional win, a heartbreaking loss, when you're extremely sad." If you want to continue to hear me breaking down the Chiefs game, stick with my YouTube page on Tuesday nights on Arrowhead Allies. Tuesday nights on Arrowhead Allies with Noah Groniger and Clint Schweitzer from Starcade Media, Brian B. Shinen from Hot 103 Jams, and Michael Matthew from TGN Sports in Los Angeles. It's just where I wanted to be right now. It's the next step. After doing my YouTube page for 7 years, there's only so far you can take it. I didn't get into it to make money. Like I said, I got into it just it's cathartic. It felt good. It was knee jerk. It was immediately after the game. You don't know how many times I called for Andy Reid to be fired after some of those freaking heartbreaking losses, because I did. But I was always next week saying, "Okay, Andy, you got to redeem yourself. We love you." And I love Andy Reid. But for the most part, you don't want to wear yourself out at the party. Don't wear out your welcome. You don't want to wear out your welcome at the party. When it's time to go, it's time to go. You know, I grew up loving the band Kiss, but they stayed 22 years past their prime. They did their farewell tour. 2 of the original members aren't in the band anymore. They wear wigs just to keep on with the persona because they can't let it go. That's kind of embarrassing. I love Chris Berman on ESPN. He was the first to really start it, and he had his shtick, and it was really cool. But in my opinion, Chris Berman stayed around at the party too long. My final post game, like I said, was when we were Super Bowl champions in February. That's how I wanted to go. But folks, it's goodbye to the Shaggyshane Kansas City Chiefs show, but it's not good night. I will be on Arrowhead Allies, and I'll continue to be a guest with Lance and Trevor on The Spoken, as well as other great podcasts like Two Gyms and a Mic with the diva Tanisha Mahomes and LD Miss Linda Dorsey. I will be on there. You can still find me. You don't be upset. Don't shed a tear. This is just the next step in the evolution of Shaggyshane. I want to thank you all for being there. Lance, my God, you were there on the most important show of the freaking Shaggyshane Chief Show in April 22nd, 2017. I called you up. I said, hey, you want to be on my show? And you said, yes, let's do it. I said, I want to talk about quarterbacks. I called Clay Windler. I said, hey, I'm going to have Lance Twiddle of the Spoken on my show over the mock draft for the 2017 Chiefs, and we're going to demand the Chiefs get a quarterback. And I love Clay. We both love Clay. Clay said, let's wait till next year and take a chance on Baker Mayfield or
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold.
He was saying Sam Darnold, yeah.
He likes Sam Darnold. I said, man, no, we're going to go on this show, and we're going to talk specifics about the Chiefs getting Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson. It's going to happen. And when I knew Lance Twidwell was coming over to sit in my basement to talk about it, I got nervously excited because I knew it was important. And every show that I have done for my Shaggyshane show, when having you on there, it was from the heart. It was sincere. It was knee-jerk because it was organic, because that's what the Shaggyshane show was all about. And it had to be that way. And it was an important step because, Lance, you and I were the only one who were saying, hey, I want Patrick Mahomes. And you're like, yeah, I'll take Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. But we were both happy with Patrick Mahomes, and we both wanted it, and we felt it. And when it happened, it was the freaking moment because I knew we were going to be up to a dynasty. I knew it was that time. And that's still probably the most important show I've ever had. So if anybody, I'm not deleting my page. You can still go see the old shows, but moving forward for the Shaggyshane Chief Show, you can continue to look for Arrowhead Allies. It's on my page under live. Go to the live section and you'll see us break down stuff. Just in this last month, we've had Bill Moss, Pat Mahomes Sr., the trainer that worked with Travis Kelce his first 6 years in the league for the Chiefs. We continue to grow, and you're under the same umbrella as us. If you want to watch freaking great post games, check out freaking Lance and Trevor and Vaughn Booker. If you need a freaking awesome post game, stick here on this YouTube page and watch Lance and Trevor break down with Vaughn Booker. I love Vaughn Booker. The guy had so much swagger at Arrowhead. He wasn't just a Neil Smith backup. He freaking brought it. He brought it, and he's got freaking passion and heart and desire. He knows his football. So if you need to get your NFL post game fix, watch Lance and Trevor and Vaughn Booker. But that's it, man. That's been a blast. I want to thank my Shaggyshane followers. I want to thank you, Lance and Trevor, for letting me use your format to announce that because I haven't announced it yet on my page. This is the first I've announced it because after the Chiefs game, I was getting bombarded in my PMs about when's your post game? Where's your post game? And this is it. This is goodbye. I wanted to end it with the Chiefs being on a Super Bowl champion with so many people in my live feed. And I love you guys and I love my followers from the bottom of my heart, man. I can't thank you guys enough, and best of luck and success moving forward. And I'd love to be back again. It's
our honor to have that announcement on our show. It goes to that question, bro, that, yeah, we go way back. And, back when you invited me on the show, I was excited as hell because I believe that was the first time you and I actually just hung out in person. And so it was interesting to see the dynamic play the way it did because I remember you brought me in your house, you gave me a beer, we hung out a little bit, you introduced me to Tracy. I believe the girls were there as well. I met them, I met the dogs. And it just immediately felt like family. And then so when we went on the cameras, if you guys watch that video, I recommend you go back and watch it. It looks like a bunch of old buddies hanging out. But that was literally the first time Shaggy and I actually just hung out. And so it was awesome. I'll never forget that time, man. I agree. That was one of the most important videos I ever did myself as well. And I when it comes to this situation with you, man, stepping away, I don't look at it as stepping down. You're stepping up. You're going to the next chapter because your voice matters too much. Your opinions matter too much to your Chiefs community, Chiefs Kingdom. So you going to Arrowhead Allies, you being a special guest on shows like ours, it's just you just changing the format a little bit. It's you're not retiring, you're not stepping away. It's just you taking the next step. And I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of what you're doing. And just don't lose that authenticity. Just keep doing what you're doing. That's why we have you on the show, because we only have people on this show that are authentic, that are honest with what they say and what they believe. And that is why you're one of the most, if not the most frequented guest that we have ever had on this show. And that's going to continue to be the case. I love you, bro. I appreciate you. And again, thank you so much for allowing us the honor of having that announcement be made official on this show. We don't take that lightly. We don't take you lightly. And I know that the rest of the people out there echo those sentiments. So that's our guy, Shaggyshane. I love you to death, man.
Love you
excited
too,
to watch excited as hell to watch Arrowhead Allies this week. Keep kicking ass and keep making Starcade Media that much better for just simply being on the platform, brother.
Absolutely.
I love you guys. Kick ass, man, and keep kicking ass with Vaughn Booker. You know I'll be watching. Have a great rest of the show, guys, and have a great weekend.
You too, brother. Well, that's our guy, Shaggyshane.